pie plates on fishing string, shooting on VHS tapes, building sets out of cardboard boxes, filming real police cars to add production value as they pull up on your film set with the sirens going and lights flashing because you don't have a permit to film at that location, and you have a friend of yours laying on the ground covered in a pool of fake blood. You don't have to have Disney money to make a movie. Micro budget horror films on this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Attention, planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 That's time for the show. Yay.
Hello, one and all, to another cheap-ass episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast. I am the best podcast host your money can buy, Insane Mike, and this is episode 256. We are going to be talking about horror movies with extremely low budgets.
How low?
They're so low that they sit next to Chewbacca. This is why I write my jokes down ahead of time.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your flow.
Laughter.
Where's the cricket?
I got it right here.
He can add laughter later.
Yeah, totally.
He won't.
Nope.
Movies so low budget that they are also known as micro budget films. And my goal with this show was to pick films where their combined budgets wouldn't even add up to the catering budget of your rando Marvel movie.
Oh no.
If this is your first time listening to Attack of the Killer Podcast, we are a horror movie podcast where a group of friends, we get together, we discuss films within a certain topic. We are all just friends hanging out, talking about horror films like we do, so there's probably going to be spoilers. Much like the movies we are talking about on this show, we don't have a whole lot of money to do this podcast for you. Granted, we are great at making the most out of nothing, but it could be even better with your help. That's right. Help support the show. Go to jointheattackers.com and sign up to help make Attack of the Killer Podcast go from Ed Wood to Star Wars.
There's the Chewbacca tie-in. I wondered what the hell.
When do you...
He said, you didn't get the joke? It was Solo?
Oh.
Solo, sitting next to Chewbacca, like Han Solo. Jesus Christ.
It's because it's that bad of a joke.
Wow. My bad.
It's always good when you have to explain it, right?
That actually, honestly, those are my favorite jokes.
We know.
So when you do sign up to support the show, you get to be an attacker. What is an attacker? Well, I'm glad you asked. An attacker is a supporter and a fan of the show that can get you all kinds of exclusive perks. You can get bonus episodes. You can get early access to the regular show. You can get our video shows such as Killer Critiques, video updates, and Insane Mike's 1-minute top 10 list. You get invited to special events such as our monthly horror hangout show and tell. You can also get your very own official membership certificate and membership card and sticker. There's so many more perks and rewards for being an attacker, and all you have to do is go to jointheattackers.com and pick the tier to get the content that you want. It's that easy. Go to jointheattackers.com. And now it is time to introduce you to the podcast crew. He just got a new car that was within his budget. That car is a Ford. Andy.
Hey, everybody.
He got a new app that helped him with his budget. The app showed him he was spending too much money on Transformers. So he decided he couldn't do it anymore. So he deleted the app. Jason, everybody.
You know it. Oh, man. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you being here.
He was horribly constipated, but he couldn't afford to go to the doctor. He just couldn't budget. Tad, everybody.
Yeah, the American healthcare system is a fucking joke. Hi, guys.
full of shit.
Oh, shit
Literally.
is right, yes. And returning again to the show, the man, the myth, the Brett half of the Brett and Tony with Ash and Abe podcast, Brett Royer, everybody. Yeah!
Hey, what's up, guys?
How's it going, man?
Good. How you guys doing?
So good. Now
Ready to
that
talk
you're
about some
here.
movies.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
me too. But first, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, I podcast and write books. The podcast is Brett and Tony with Ash and Abe, like Mike said. And 1 week we pick a movie and discuss it to death, and then the next week we pick a random topic to discuss, and then discuss that to death too. A couple recent episodes we've done. We did Weird and Fucked Up Laws. We also did. We just recently, I think we're about to release the Mist.
Ooh.
So yes, and then I also write books sometimes. I got Malice on the Mississippi River and a couple of Iowa Grindhouse books, and those are on Amazon.com.
Well, awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, Brett. It's always a good
Yay,
time.
Brett's here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, I've been watching a lot of Shudder lately. So much Shudder that I forgot to write a intro to talk about Shudder and our promo code. So our promo code is AOTKP. You can get a month of Shudder for free because Shudder is awesome. It's the Netflix of horror. Again, the promo code AOTKP. And speaking of forgetting things, here's Tad with what we watched.
All right, guys. I watched quite a bit, but I'm going to kick it off with Jason. What have you watched?
Oh my gosh, if you have tuned in to the First Time Podcast lately, you'll know that I
Oh, yeah.
watched the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre at least twice now.
Has everybody, I assume, on the show?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
cool. So we can spoil it for everyone.
No.
I can't believe he chainsawed people. Wow.
Oh my gosh, and with all that skin and the blood.
In Texas, too.
Oh man,
Andy,
crazy. Jeez, Andy.
went too far. Don't just spill out the whole movie.
And I don't want to
Sorry.
spoil my episode of First Time Podcast, but dudes, guess what? I fucking love this movie.
I'll tell you what, you guys are joking around about just randomly saying parts of the title and it being a spoiler. But I will say, and was it Jason? Was it you that brought this to my attention? Somebody brought it to my attention that this is probably the first time in this franchise's history that there actually is a massacre.
There's a massacre.
Straight up is,
Yeah.
man. Woo,
The
baby.
first Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Do yourself a favor, go watch it. It's amazing. And fuck the internet. So what else did I watch? So I was on my Ninja Turtle kick before. I finally watched part 3, and for the first time, I think, and man, that wasn't good at all. I didn't like part 3, man. It was tough. I mean, it was okay, but it was
It's,
I spaced out. Part 3 of what?
the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, it's just like, how many franchises sort of falter on part 3? Back to the
Right.
Future 3 is my least favorite.
Halloween, right?
No.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
You trying to start something? Watch what you say, bro.
Stop it! Stop it!
But then to finish out my Turtles kick, I watched the new one from 2014 again. I did see that in the theater and I loved it, and I loved it again this time. Thought it was awesome. And then I had not seen Out of the Shadows from 2016, and it's fucking amazing. It might be my new favorite Turtles movie, other than the 1990 original one. But it's fucking awesome.
And why is that, sir?
Oh, because it kicks it back nostalgia style. It's amazing. There's Bebop and Rocksteady and Krang and the Tetradub. Jesus Christ, it's fucking amazing.
Corey Feldman doing voiceovers.
No.
Oh.
You know,
okay.
I will say this. I despise Michael Bay and Platinum Dunes with every ounce of my being.
Come on.
And how they will take a property and totally miss the point. But I think this is, to me, Out of the Shadows is like,
Man,
is
service
more
to
on
ba-
the nose
I know.
of Ninja Turtles than the original 1990 Ninja Turtles movie. or at
Yeah.
least Ninja Turtles 2, because you actually get Rocksteady and Bebop in this, not
It was
like
great.
those other
and
two.
Big Turtle Wagon. I mean,
It's all
dumpster
there.
Yeah, it is amazing. If you haven't seen it, I completely recommend it a lot. It was incredible. I loved it. And that's what I watched.
All right, Mike, what have you watched?
I finally watched Antlers.
Finally.
Yeah, and it's pretty
Oh,
cool.
so good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I would probably say if we're gonna say Wendigo as a subgenre, it's probably the best Wendigo movie
Absolutely.
because it didn't bore me to tears. But it's I like how they really dug deep into the mythology of the Wendigo, and and how it's like kind of like transferred from person to person, and you evolve into this monster. I thought the monster looked
Because
really
it is
cool.
a curse.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I dug it. I too also watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and
Yay.
I too also loved it.
Good. I hadn't talked to you about it yet.
Yeah, I really liked it. At first I'm like, we're getting into the third act, and I had that little moment of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre fanboy in me that didn't think it through all the way, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, I'm kind of disappointed. There's no family, there's no extended family in this. It's just Leatherface. And then I caught myself, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's what's awesome about this.
Yeah.
They get away from all of the same things we see over and over and over again in Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, like a random character that's kind of weird and shows up in the first act, turns out to be a member of the family in the third act, or just a huge extended family from out of nowhere, or there's a dinner table scene. It just gets, all of those elements are in every single Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie except for this one, and so I really appreciate it for that. And dudes, it's just gory as shit.
Oh,
Mhm.
man.
These kills are awesome.
The first kill just gets me every time.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
Is that the bone, the wrist bone?
Yeah.
yeah.
How
Right in the face. Oh
inventive.
my god.
The kneecap.
Oh,
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 jeez.
Yeah.
that whole dude. Anyway. Yep.
And then the last thing I'll bring up is I finally got done, and I'm actually in the middle of the second viewing of Peacemaker.
Ooh. It was awesome.
That show is awesome.
That show is
Yep.
freaking amazing. And
I
so
do. I'm sorry. I do want to mention this. Did anybody notice the name of the video store where their camp is?
yeah, it's Henenlock.
Camp Blood.
It's
That's a callback there.
Henenlotter Video, and I thought that was so cool.
And I was like looking through the internet. I'd look through IMDb trivia, like to see. I mean, it's got to be a nod to Frank Henenlotter,
Of
right?
Oh, definitely.
Of
But it's
course.
like I've never known there to be a connection between Frank Henenlotter and James Gunn.
He has good taste.
I would think
in
he's a
horror
fan. I would
media.
think he's a fan, but I don't know for sure. So I thought
Yeah.
it was a very, very cool nod, but so random that I needed answers and I can't find them. But anyway, oh yeah, I'm talking. It's freaking awesome. It's hilarious. John Cena is so good in it. Eagly is the greatest character in the whole
man.
show. It's
So good.
it's so good.
Economist, motherfucker.
So yeah, I'm watching it a second time because I started watching it because I got tired of waiting for everybody in the house to want to sit down and watch it. And I'm like, I'm watching it. Care. And then literally everyone else is like, oh, this is good. We need to watch it. So, and I told Simon, I'm like, son, I am going to watch this all the way through first, and then I'll be more than happy to watch it again with you. Because I need to take notes on where you need to cover your eyes. So, but yeah, and he's loving it. Brandy loved it. It's so, and she's actually gotten really obsessed, and it's kind of weirding me out. We were at a toy show over the weekend, and her number one objective was to find the DC Universe Peacemaker action figure from Suicide Squad, but she didn't find it, so she's sad. But that's what I watched.
Alrighty, Andy, what have you been watching?
I of course also watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I have one tiny complaint. I love the I loved all the gore. That bus scene is awesome. You know, him killing a bunch of influencers. That's totally, totally. You're canceled. And he's just like, yeah. Let me show you how we got down in '74. And just with the intestines slopping out the window. I mean, that was just
awesome.
so good. I can suspend my disbelief that, you know, that these group of influencers are bidding on a town. I can suspend my disbelief that this old lady took in a 20-year-old, you know, mongoloid skin wearing guy. I can suspend my disbelief for that. But the one thing that I cannot wrap my head around is if you think a chainsaw is going to start after being, you know, stored in between plaster and lath since the mid 70s, you're out of your mind. I don't know shit about small engines, but I know that thing was not going to start. The gas would evaporated. The fucking oil would be peanut butter. Okay.
Yep.
You're not the first person to bring that
But
up. And I think it's hilarious that I've heard this get brought up a lot, but nobody seems to have a problem with the chainsaw cutting all the way through the floor, through metal pipes in the floor,
Yeah.
like cutting through it like it's a freaking melted cheese.
I thought he went and tinkered with it before he started it.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, you hear him take it in the other room, and then you hear him tinkering with it before he ever starts
maybe.
it.
Yeah,
Maybe.
unless he had like, you know, Keebler elves in there maintaining the fucking thing.
I'm just saying it's a super chainsaw and it would hold up.
Yeah.
If it's gonna cut through metal pipes like it's paper, it can withstand
Probably
50
start
years on the wall. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I have a moped that was made in '79, and it starts up on first kick. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
Was it stored in between the walls of a house for a couple of
Yeah.
decades though?
Probably
But it's
worse.
oil
I mean,
Slightly worse.
All in all, I really enjoyed it, and man, there's some freaking just unpleasable, you know, people out there.
Oh my god!
Even in some of the movies that I really dislike, I've tried to find something, you know, that I like about it. But some of these people, like, shit, man, it's just like, it wasn't exactly the way that I wanted it. I'm like, man, fuck you.
That's on
Just-
you, not the movie. Come
Yeah.
on.
I also caught Kid 90,
Yay.
the Silly Mood Fright. Really enjoyed that. Broke my freaking heart.
Mhm.
So good though. Another thing, I did watch Antlers. I bought it. Really glad that I did. If I hadn't have slept on it so long, it would have made my top 10 last year.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed this. Just, you know, down to the kids' performance was great. I mean, Amy Madigan getting her face bit off was, oh my God, that was brutal. And just that, you know, the West Coast, you know, Oregon, Washington, you know, area, you know, that you know, Twin Peaks land, you know, just that overcast, dreary, it's just a great setting for any kind of film with just dread, and it works really well. I also caught Last Night in Soho because I bought that
Oh.
too.
oh yeah.
Sorry I slept on that because this is a freaking great film.
Yeah.
And I agree, it's not Giallo. It's called London in the 1960s, where everything had vibrant colors anyway. So, you know, yeah, it's not a Giallo movie. What it is a great hybrid ghost story. I mean, it's kind of like I got vibes of The Changeling. Did you guys get that? When it kind of reminded me of that, how, you know, the
I could
guy
see
had
that.
Yeah.
the connection. George C. Scott has the connection with the ghost. The last one I want to talk about is an action movie, and I had no idea that Joe Carnahan did it after I bought it. I just bought it on the actors that I liked and the premise, because it's kind of like a bizarro version of Assault on Precinct 13, and it's Cop Shop. It's actually really good. Have you guys heard about this?
Mm-mm.
I don't think so.
It's about a guy that purposely gets himself arrested. He hits a cop because he knows that a hitman is after him. So the hitman himself gets himself arrested, and they're across from, the jail cell. And the hitman is Gerard Butler, and the guy that got himself arrested is Frank Grillo. And when I say it's, the bad guys are already in the precinct, but then another hitman, played by Toby Huss, who freaking steals the show. If you don't know who Toby Huss is, he's the dad from Halloween 2018. I got peanut butter on my penis. That guy. He plays this really eccentric hitman in this, and he's just hilarious. He's awesome. We've got a lead female black cop, which, it further reminds me of Assault on Precinct 13 in that way. But highly, highly recommend this because it's Joe Carnahan, and he's kind of I've liked everything that he's done aside from A-Team, but he's back to his smoking aces kind of form in this. He really likes his really off the wall hitman characters, and I really, really suggest you guys check this out. It's got the old hideous certified fresh Rotten Tomatoes thing on the fucking cover, but yeah, that's what I watched. Check out Cop Shop.
Excellent. Brett, what have you been watching?
Hey, well, I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre also, and I also thought it was fucking awesome. Fuck people. And I've been watching Ozark season. I'm on season 2 right now. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that show.
It's good.
Pretty fucking good though. I like Jason Bateman a lot.
Yeah.
And then I want to. They announced a couple weeks ago the Oscars list, the nominations, and I keep telling myself, man, I'm going to watch a lot of Oscar movies, right? And I watched. I've seen Dune and I've seen Nightmare Alley. Plus, I just caught Down at the Capitol, the Summer of Soul documentary. But that's basically all I've seen so far because I keep getting distracted. I turn on the TV and I'm gonna fire up like Don't Look Up or something and watch some Leo, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, maybe you should watch Die Hard with a Vengeance instead. So I'm like, I gotta fucking watch that. So yeah, I watched Die Hard with a Vengeance. Last night it happened again. I sat down to watch a fucking Oscar movie, and then all of a sudden it was like, hey, Roadhouse is streaming again. So I was like, well, fuck, if that's an option, you have to go with Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
So basically, I just keep getting distracted by 90s movies. I want to do the Oscars movies, but yeah, that's all I've been watching is 90s movies, guys.
I would have gave the Oscar to Roadhouse anyway.
Right?
The Oscar movies have been knocking on my door too, but I've been distracted too, but I've been actually knocking a few off the list.
Well, let us know what you've been watching.
Yeah, what you been watching, Dad?
Well, thanks for asking. I've got quite a list. I've been, like I said, knocking off some of those Oscar movies. I saw Licorice Pizza. Really enjoyed that. I won't go into many of them because I've seen so many of them. Watched Tick, Tick, Boom. That's another Oscar one. I really like that. It's a musical for anyone who likes musicals. With Andrew Garfield. I watched The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which has probably been my favorite of the bunch so far.
Oh, wow.
Watched Summer of Soul. Watched Luca last night, which is about two sea creature kids, sort of creature from the Black Lagoon, that turn into humans when they get on shore. And their dream is to own a Vespa moped. And I'm like, why is this movie made for me? So that was a lot of fun. Pixar, that's up for best animated film. But I also finished Euphoria season 2, my favorite current show on TV. Really fantastic. I finished Dark Side of the Ring finally, caught up on that. And then some new movies I've watched that actually pertain to this podcast. Studio 666, which I'm surprised it absolutely faltered at the box office. It came in less than $1 million.
Oh, Jesus.
But I loved it. I thought this would do so much better. It's rad. It has great music. It is so fucking gory. It's directed by the guy who did Hatchet 3, I believe.
Yep.
BJ, and our legendary Mr. John Carpenter did the theme song, and he's in the movie.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Jason Trost from the FP movies, he's in this movie. It is just a blast. It's gory as fuck. It's funny, but it's scary. I cannot recommend this one more for horror fans. Very, very like campy, fun slasher movie. Rewatch Mystics in Bali for a podcast I'm going to be on this coming week. I watched Jim Cummings' newest movie, The Beta Test. That one's pretty cool. It's on Hulu now. I'm trying to think of what else I've watched so much. Just going through my list here, and I think that sort of wraps up what I've watched just recently. I feel like I always miss stuff, even on my Letterboxd. I'm like, I know I watched some other stuff, but I mean, I always fall into the '90s action movies, like Brett over there too. If I'm flipping through Pluto, Devil's Rejects has been on Pluto TV horror channel a lot. So I've watched that like 6 times this week in different parts. never the whole movie, just like half hour of it at a time. So yeah, that's what I watched.
All right. Well, thank you, Tad. And now, folks, get out your Twitters, start your engines, and vote for me, because it is time for Pole Position.
From now on, like your parents were, you are the secret force of pole position.
All right, let's take a quick look back at the poll a few episodes ago from episode 254. The question was, what are your favorite kill scenes with a chainsaw? It's like we knew. Does everybody remember their answers? I'll tell you, Mike put Bad Taste, the Born Again scene, and Texas Chainsaw 2 in the gut. Jason picked American Psycho, Stairwell Fall, and Evil Dead 2013 in the head. Dad picked the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, The Bridge, and Hatchet 2, The Double Trouble. And Andy picked Running Man, Buzzsaw, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 03, The Morgan scene, which I went back and watched that. Holy bajolies. All right, let me get to the results.
Suspense, man.
All right, so we got Running Man didn't do it. Andy's in last
I knew
place.
it would kill me. I knew it would kill me, but god damn it, I love the
You
Running
love
Man.
it. Oh, and then second to last place, so that's third place. That's Insane Mike.
Bullshit.
15% of the votes.
Bullshit.
And-
Artist.
And then Ted knew he had the answer until I stole it. But then, so I won with 46% of the vote. You know that American Psycho is what did it.
46%. Wow.
Yeah.
Almost
pretty
took
good.
half the goddamn votes.
Yeah, I did it. All right. So getting into this pole position for this episode, the question is, what is your favorite low budget theatrical horror release? We've kind of tried to keep it to $1 million or less. Yeah, so let me jump over here to the random sequence generator. Before I generate the sequence, Mike's 1, I'm 2, Tad's 3, Andy's 4, and here we go. Okay, so with the first pick is fucking Tad.
Yeah.
Second pick is Mike. Bullshit. Jason gets the third pick, and Andy gets the fourth. Okay, so
Yeah.
gotta write these down as I go. So Tad, you're up first. What's your first pick? What's the number one? The 101.
With the most obvious answer of all time, John Carpenter's Halloween.
Oh,
I
you
mean,
would.
when it came out, it was the most successful independent film of all time, I believe, up until Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Callback. But yeah, I had to go with that. I had a list going because if I knew if Andy got picked before me, he might steal that one. So, and I thought about stealing Mike's answer, but I got to stay true to myself. So, John Carpenter's Halloween.
I have it down at $325,000 of a budget, and it's grossed $70 million. That's pretty good. All right, Insane Mike, second pick.
Ted, you assume you know what my answer is going to be. And you're right. It's Night of the Living Dead.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
The original black and white George Romero classic. That's because that is the only right answer. That's why you knew.
I have that one at $114,000, and it's grossed
I like-
$30 million.
That we're so predictable that you have these ready.
Well, I just. Oh, I get to go next. Sweet. With my third pick. Anybody guess? Okay, I'm going to go with the greatest of all time. One of the cheapest and most profitable independent horror films ever made, The Blair Witch from 1999.
Yep.
Damn it.
It had a budget of $60,000 and it's grossed over $248 million. That's a lot of millions.
That is.
All right.
If Andy picks this one I have on my list, I should have put money on it because I've picked everyone else's so far.
All right, with pick 4, Andy, what's it going to be?
And we're keeping it under $1 million, you said?
Well, we're shooting for that. I mean, I got a couple on the
Okay.
list that went over, but
I'm going to go with Friday the 13th,
Yep.
the original one from 1980.
yep, that's
Because
pretty
they
good.
say 550,000 is what I'm reading here.
Yep.
And-
Grossed over 60 million. All right, well, you get to go back-to-back picks. You get the number 5 pick now.
Oh, we're doing
Okay.
2?
Yep, we're going to go 2. Always 2. This snake draft is fun.
I will go with one of my favorite movies of all time.
Uh-huh.
And since Hitchcock basically had to finance it himself, granted it's 1960 and this is $800,000, but I'm going with Psycho.
Very good. Very good. All right. So that puts me with pick 6. I'm going to go with one of my favorite movies of all time. Made for $15,000 and grossed over $193 million. It's Paranormal Activity.
Wait, did you just say it's one of your favorites?
Yeah, I totally lied. I want the votes. Never seen it, but I hear it's good.
Me neither.
All right. Did I stall long enough for you, Mike? You got another pick lined up?
Why do you think then you need to stall for me, considering I have a list of like 6 movies and they've already been mostly named.
I can help if you want.
No, I
Okay.
think, 'cause I don't think it's been said yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to go with the original Friday the 13th.
Already took with pick 4.
Then I'm going to go with Sam Raimi's Evil Dead.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mm.
I don't have stats on that one.
That was literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. I wrote down 7, and that is the only one that hasn't been said yet.
Very good. Very good. All right, Tad, finish us off. Pick 8.
That was my last one. I
We
had on my
stalled for
list.
you. Oh, okay.
So I guess I have some honorable mentions. I'll go with Henry, Portrait of a Serial
Oh, that's
Killer.
a good one.
Nice. That was a good one. I'd vote for that.
It was 100,000.
But not your first pick, so.
100,000. I think it went 300 or something, 600, something like that.
Saw was like 1.2 million, but it made a shitload.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
that
were
would-
some others I really liked, but they didn't. I don't think I would consider like Pontypool theatrical.
Yeah.
I probably played limited theaters, but I'm thinking, something that was made for nothing and went big in theaters.
Well, Brett, did you happen to have any left over off your list that you might have? Not that we
Yeah.
can have your answers, but what would you pick?
Well, I fucking hate sharks, but I love
Uh-huh.
shark movies. Open water.
That's the last
That
one.
was
on
on-
my- Yep.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
last one on my
God.
list too.
Oh yeah,
Right,
That's not
120K.
going to win.
Yeah,
Depressing ass movie. God,
Yeah, it
fucking
turned-
makes me feel like shit.
turned a big profit. Any others on your list?
Nope.
Nice.
You guys took them all. Shit.
Yeah, the last couple I had were just over $1 million. I had Saw, the
Yeah.
original Saw was 1.2,
Yeah.
and it did 103 million. And then Carrie's was always a
Hmm.
1.8 million, and it did 33.
That was on my list, but I was like 1.8, went over that million, so I had to.
And especially for
something else.
76, that was probably like 10 back then.
Right.
Oh wait, no, there was one more on my list that didn't get
Too
mentioned.
late.
I don't
Back then.
think.
Oh.
Did somebody say Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Somehow no one did.
Hey,
Yeah, wow.
nobody really knows how much money that
That's-
movie made
this
because
is
it was
true.
all mob funded.
Yeah, this is true. So it doesn't.
Brian Stin
Probably,
pictures my ass.
Well,
Probably Cabin Fever made a
Ooh.
shitload of money too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right, everybody, get your butts over to Twitter at AOTKP. Get your votes in. Who do you think picked the best
Me.
low budget films that were theatrical releases?
Me.
And that's pole position.
Okay, we should probably. Speaking of low budgets,
Yeah.
we should probably get into talking about some of these movies,
Yeah,
right?
let's do it.
So these movies aren't low budget, man. They are micro budget. You know, we're like, oh, a couple $100,000. That is so little money. Well, you ain't seen nothing yet, guys.
Uh-huh.
Tad, what's the first no budget movie we're going to talk about tonight?
The first no budget movie we're talking about is from 2012 and is called Found.
My brother keeps a human head in his closet. At one point, it had thoughts and feelings, and it kissed somebody it loved. Now it's just a bloody head in a bowling ball bag. I hope I don't end up that way.
Do you want to be the kid that gets picked on? Or the kid that gets in trouble?
What if I hit Marcus back? What if it doesn't hurt him any?
Don't worry about Marcus. You shouldn't worry about anything.
You didn't have to do what you did, Marty. Kids get picked on. I'm sorry it happens, but it's not an excuse to attack someone.
You want to see something really scary?
Listen to me. Something is going to happen tonight. It's going to change everything. And I need you to stay out of the way.
Why?
Because I don't want to hurt you.
My life is starting to feel like a horror movie. And you know how they end.
Okay, Found. A bullied and misunderstood boy must grapple with the knowledge that his older brother is a serial killer. I fucking love this one, guys.
Awesome.
Kicks right off with this. I mean, it doesn't waste like not even a second. This kid, it just opens up with that dialogue that we hear in that trailer about him literally finding.
You're like, what did he say?
Right, right. I was like, okay, is he hallucinating or writing a story or what's going on here? Because I did not look into this at all. All I saw was like an image of a guy with a gas mask as the poster, which is completely misleading.
Yeah.
And looks in the closet and he has his heads in one head at a time, but more than one head over the course of the movie. And it's a coming of age story about a kid. And I mean, it's always sort of
not wrong.
Yep.
no, it is like, it made me think of like Super Dark Times and
Yeah,
that kind of
definitely.
thing where it's like, I have an older brother, and I remember like digging in his drawers and finding things he probably shouldn't have had. Never a fucking head, but I'm like, I can. It's not a stretch to be like, curious and being like, you're not going to tell on your brother. It's your brother. You love him, but that shit is going to go south. Like you can't just hold. There's like an impending doom over this whole movie after that start. It's like. okay, what the fuck's his brother up to? When you reveal that right away at the beginning, it's a very unique way of telling a story, because we know that for some reason his brother has a real fucking severed head in the closet. At times he uses it to his advantage, where it's like bullies picking on him at school, and he is getting bullied by this kid, and he shows him the head, and he's like, "Don't fuck with me, because my brother will do that to you." And obviously things go really off the deep end towards the end when it becomes harmful to his family. But what do you guys think of this one?
I really like this one a lot too. It started pretty strong. Jason and I kind of chatted about this one a little bit over the weekend.
How dare you?
I know, right? It started off really, really strong, but then as it went on, it definitely wears its budget on its sleeve. There's just several moments just where I'm watching it and I feel like I'm at, an Iowa, local Iowa Independent Film Festival. Like there's some performances in it. And man, I always just hate talking about performances, but there's some pretty bad performances in this.
This could use a big budget remake, right?
Yeah.
This story.
Peter Jackson.
Oh boy, I don't know.
But overall, yes, I really liked it as well. What'd you guys think of? Well, I guess I'll let everyone else talk, and then I'll ask questions. Someone else can talk.
If I could jump in real quick.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, you're fine.
All I was going to say was, I liked it. It took me a little bit to get into it though, because I felt like, especially like the first half of the movie, I felt like the overall tone was a little like off. Like half the time it wanted to be like a serious horror movie, and then the other half it just wanted to be like throw in some ridiculous shit. And it didn't feel to me like they knew how to like blend them or something. But like as the movie picked up steam, like I felt like it found a groove, a nice groove for me to fall into. I really want to see Headless. Did you guys see that?
I just found that out too just now, while we're recording, that they made a full-length feature movie of the Headless movie.
Oh my god!
I kind of want to see it, guys.
Oh, I totally want to see it because I think that's awesome.
That shit.
We've done movies within movies before, right?
I don't think so.
2012 is probably the absolute, well, I don't know if it's really believable if you could go and rent VHS cassettes back in 2012 at a local video store. That's a little far-fetched, but I like it for the nostalgia factor within the movie. I mean, seeing all, like the popcorn poster on the wall and, this older brother, as crazy as he is, he's kind of one of us, because he's got like all the old films. And I was kind of a little confused. I was like, is he like a white supremacist killer? Because he's dropping N-bombs in this movie, and he's mostly killing black people. Wasn't that?
Yep, that's 100%.
Yep,
accurate. So, one minute he's like, I guess a white supremacist killer, and then the next he's just completely crazy. So, I was just like, okay, make up your mind. I don't know. That's a minor complaint. But yeah, for what they were doing, I didn't really love the movie, but I don't hate it. I think it's done. It's got really good stuff in it.
I kind of really, really love this movie. I thought it started so strong, like the way that like it had a great cinematography game right off the bat. Even though it's it's a little formatted 4:3 kind of like all these are, but. And I really liked how the kid was narrating, overdubbing things, and like it had this great feeling of the sum is greater than its parts. Like I really thought this movie was gonna be that one, because like if you give a camera a VHS camera to Steven Spielberg, you should still be able to get something cool. Like, it can be done. These low budget, no budget movies, they should still be able, like, there has to be a way that you can make a movie for no money and still make it good. And I really thought this one was starting off that way. I was getting really excited. It was so strong to me. Super solid.
I'm sorry. Did we mention the budget? I can't remember.
What was it? 8?
Hold
6?
on, I have it in my notes.
1,000?
8,000.
8,000.
8,000? But yeah.
It's damn good for $8,000.
Oh yeah, and then the
Yeah,
music
jeez.
and just the way it was all put together and it started going, it was awesome. You're like, is this kid, is he really, is the heads even really in the bag? Do you not know that for a while? It's great. And then, yeah, it kind of starts to suffer from acting and performances. And I know you love the mom and her acting, but
No.
I don't think it's that good.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad.
And it's like, oh, guys, I thought you were going to do it. I thought you were going to pull it off, this magical.
You can forgive some of the kids' performances.
Oh,
though.
for
I
sure.
mean,
And I
Yeah.
didn't think the kids were that bad.
No, not really.
Literally
The
the mom
parents.
was the most. Well, yeah, the dad was too, but the
the
mom
dad was, yeah.
was pretty
His character
cringeworthy.
was
But
shit, but
there was a couple moments, like one of the first big scenes with
Yeah.
mom and dad and the
Yep.
kids in the kitchen, and the audio is bad. It's really roomy.
yeah.
That again, it really felt like something I was seeing at a film, at like one of the more smaller film festivals we go to. But then there's some lines of dialogue, and I'm thinking to myself that are just bad lines. And I think to myself is like, now can I blame the performance on this, on the read of this line, or is it just a bad line? So that's where I try not to get hung up on performances, but yeah,
But
the
you still
mom
have to
and
have
the
a good
dad
script. Yeah. So I got really excited at the beginning. I thought this was going to do it. And I'm not saying that by the end I was disappointed, because I think it made up for itself by this ending, which is hashtag go for it. Because they did stuff in this movie you're not going to see in your big budget movies. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated it, even though it's haunted me a little bit. That whole end scene from the little brother gagged up till whatever happens, but
It's no doubt disturbing, man. It's
fuck yeah. So I thought
It was intense.
they made up for quite a bit by just fucking going for it, and that was ballsy, and I really appreciated it, and gory and gross, and yeah. So, but yeah, between the cinematography, the music, and that little boy, and a lot of the story, and yeah, I really liked it a lot.
So we mentioned it a little bit, but just to put into context, within the movie, the boy goes to the video store and wants to rent this movie called Headless, and he gets home and he finds the tape. The video store didn't have it anymore. Someone took it, and he gets home and he finds out that his brother had it. So when he had his little buddy over for a sleepover, he found the tape in his brother's room and they watched it. And throughout, and the movie within the movie, Headless, is sick as F. It's pretty gnarly, and all it is just woman after woman getting killed by this guy, tying her up, torturing her, killing her, having sex with the severed head. It's pretty gruesome, and it shows pretty
loud
much
and passionate sex.
Oh yeah, and it pretty much shows everything. And throughout these scenes, the little brother starts imagining that it's his brother in this movie, because there's some things that happen in Headless that his brother's doing, like the killer in Headless carries around severed heads in bowling bags, and which is what the kid's older brother did. So by the time we get to the end of this movie, and there's a lot, it's a very disturbing ending, but everything now is off camera, with whatever he's
Mostly.
going to do to his brother, whatever he did to the parents, it's all off camera. And I think I kind of like the idea is that they showed Headless and showed us everything within the movie, and then showed us nothing at the end, and we have it already drilled in our heads that is what we're seeing because of Headless. And I thought that was kind of a cool thing of making us write those endings in, because we don't know exactly what happened, but we leave that movie just feeling gross and dirty and sad and disturbed. And I think that has to do with Headless.
It makes it more intense, though, that it just stays on that kid as he's crying with that ball in his mouth, and then you just hearing it and putting it. Yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah,
it's a great call by the filmmakers.
Yeah, it's a cool technique to put all the bad shit into this movie so that there's a layer between it and the real movie, some separation, and then so plants the seed so your brain can fill it in what's going on in the other room. I also really liked all the scenes because I think all of us who had brothers and sisters, we all snuck around in each other's rooms, but all them scenes where you're like, you're going to get fucking caught in there. You're going to get caught in there.
That anticipation always fucking kills me. Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, and
Get
the stakes are so high here.
Yes, they are.
When we see the head in the bowling bag, and it's like, okay, this is fucking for real. Like, his brother's a goddamn psycho, and if he catches him, he's going to be that fucking head in the bag.
Yeah, and the kid's a freaking idiot because right out the gate, at the beginning of this movie, he finds the head in the bowling bag, and then throughout the rest of the movie, he keeps breaking into his brother's room looking for shit, just digging through stuff.
I mean, sometimes as a kid, your curiosity will kill you.
Yeah, this kid is a little bit morbid himself if he's like going out of his way to just, I wonder what kind of head I'm going to see today,
Yep.
Yeah. Really cool flick. Like we said, it's $8,000. I feel like at the end of the day, it looks like it's more than $8,000.
Yep.
But what's cool is that this movie's on Shudder.
And Tubi. Yep.
So this isn't just some some guy in his backyard made this movie, played a couple of independent film festivals, and and trying to sell his DVDs on his table at a comic book show.
Hey.
No, I wasn't saying
Close to
anything.
home there.
So it's cool that this movie
Yeah.
has transcended that, and then it's done by the same filmmaker who's done what's it called?
Yep.
Harvest Lake.
Yep.
Which got a lot of a buzz in the independent scene back in the day. He's actually made quite a few really cool flicks. So I can't remember the guy's name now. I should have prepared. But yeah, we found it on Shudder. So
Scott Shermer. Jeez.
There you go. So you should go find it and watch it. Found.
Do it.
Andy, what's our next movie?
Our next movie comes to us from 1970, and it is called Equinox.
What happened to Dr. Waterman? Only this man, last to see him alive, knows. Equinox. The invisible barrier between good and evil. The invisible barrier between light and the forces of darkness. The supernatural before your very eyes as 4 teenage boys and girls fight a devil cult for their sanity, for their lives, for their eternal souls. Equinox, a story that defies logic, confounds belief. Dr. Waterman! Wait!
I can't believe it. It was just a fall.
What is the secret of the 1,000-year-old book? What are the unspeakable horrors conjured by the forces of evil? What is the fiendish power of the ring that enslaves and destroys? What is the one symbol that can hold at bay the hosts of hell unleashed on earth? Equinox, proving again that there is more in heaven and on earth than is dreamt of in our philosophy. Equinox. Begins where Rosemary's Baby left off.
What?
I know. Right.
That's what I thought.
They roped that in nice. Told in flashbacks by the sole survivor, four teenagers go on a woods hike and encounter a creepy forest ranger and a crazy old man. The old man is a scientist who had found a mysterious book, and when he had read its cryptic symbols, it conjured monsters into existence. The teenagers keep the book, and they are pursued by monsters, a demonic cult, and the ranger. The ranger turns out to be a red flying devil in human disguise by the name Asmodeus. Yeah. We've got a beginning that is kind of like Maximum Overdrive. The car got possessed. I mean, I guess the car didn't really have anything to do with it. I mean, but oh well. Yeah, I think maybe Sam Raimi might have seen this before, back in the day. Because, even like when we first see the book that is conjuring up these spirits, you get like that misty fog, and I'm just like, my God, this is like, Evil Dead 2 had like a paint by numbers thing going on here, man. Even, with the book twirling and the dry ice smoke and everything. All in all, I really kind of like this. And I mean, there's even more like things that reminded me of Evil Dead. Because, we've got some claymation monsters, and, you see a lot of claymation in the end of the first Evil Dead. But there are some laughable points in this movie. Well, for instance, was when Asmodeus gets all rapey and he's going in with that, trying to kiss. Yeah. Is it Robin or Susan or whatever? It's just the look on his face is, just screams sexuality, doesn't it? Because it basically looks like Billy Idol got hit in the face with a shovel during his mid sneer with his lips all crooked and shit. Yeah, I'm just like, I'm laughing my ass, and then there's drool coming off of his lips and shit. Ugh. Yeah, I might as well get to the plot here, but basically these kids are trying to figure out, what happened to this professor, Waterman, I believe is his name. I mean, and when they get there, his house is completely demolished. And they hear cries, from this cave, and they go and investigate that, and they eventually get this book from this old man in this cave. And Asmodeus is trying to get them to go off. And you've got, ever since the incantations were said, by this Waterman, you've got, alternate dimensions. You're seeing, octopuses rip apart the cabin. But they're slow, since they're students, they're slowly learning, protection, from this book, and they're making like runes and stuff to protect themselves and all this and that. But I mean, obviously there's only one survivor and he's telling the story, and normally things don't turn out too well. And I won't give it all away, but what did you guys think?
I really enjoyed this one too. Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah.
This is pretty campy, pretty ridiculous, a lot of laugh out loud moments, and that's what I liked about it. I think it just was a lot of like, what the fuck, and a good mixture of, like you said, stop motion and some camera trickery that you could see, like, you could see some parts where they were, restricted with their budget, but they got around it, and I can appreciate that. And I just thought it was sort of just like, I mean, obviously there has some stuff I didn't love, like you mentioned the rapey stuff, but there's just like a lot of, I don't know, just you could tell like they were having fun making it, and it just very creative. Like I thought it was just sort of like really cool for 1970. It didn't really, felt more 60s to me, but maybe that's the budget. But man, just really just a cool movie. Like as a, you know, as just a film fan, like to see what they could do with nothing, and it's just sort of all over the place. I love it.
Talk about what they could do with a bigger budget, you know, for this story, you know, like now.
Yeah.
And I also love the fact that this is a Criterion release.
Oh yeah.
You can get this on Criterion Collection.
Yeah, it was funny that you mentioned that, you know, it felt more 60s. They began filming this film in 1967, so that would explain it. It started off as a student film project that was started out as a short, and it took 2.5 years to make it. And then, you know, the guy producing it decided to, you know, let's keep going. They decided to keep going and turn it into a feature film.
And thank God.
Yes.
I really liked, you mentioned before the monster claymation, I think, Andy. But man, I fucking loved when it would have the monster and the human claymation. Like one of the, it'd show like one of the humans about to attack one of the, one of the claymation monsters, but it'd show the human, person doing it, the actor. And then it would, switch over and be like the claymation version of that actor jumps at it, and then the monster will catch him and like swing him around and shit in claymation. Oh my God, I was loving it. This movie was so fucking cool.
Yes, it's definitely a lot of fun. I've always been a big fan of this one. It was hard to find like forever, so I'm really excited that Criterion released it. It's kind of like it was kind of always a film that was kind of infamous to me. Like, I heard it talked about a lot, but it was just always one that was hard to find. It had quite the reputation for it. As being, it took several years to make the movie. We keep bringing up Bad Taste, and I'm going to make the connection one more time. I feel like Peter Jackson probably saw this movie.
Sure.
This is kind of, in my opinion, the 1960s, 1970s American Bad Taste. It started off as a short film, and they just kept on filming. It's very similar to Bad Taste. And then a lot of the effects works are, they're so do-it-yourself and done really well and are made up. A lot of the techniques that they use, they just came up with on the fly with the fact that they had no money. Like the door to the other dimension was all done in camera, and they used a mirror to accomplish that. Yeah. And then also the scene with the giant, that was done using forced perspective, and I thought that looked really good.
That was really good.
Yeah. So it's got a lot of really cool work in, stuff in it. Some of it does kind of come off hokey, and I think part of that maybe kind of adds to the hokiness is that all the sound, including the dialogue, was all done in post-production, which is also, I think, bad taste.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I could tell like the guy in the cave was off, and I believe that's like somebody's grandfather from, I think like the director's grandfather.
Oh, cool. Okay. But I love that stuff. I love post-production sound and dialogue a lot, so that just really adds to the experience for me. And, I also love this movie because it's the first screen appearance of Frank Bonner, who played Herb Tarlick on WKRP.
Knew it. It all comes back to WKRP.
Always comes back to WKRP.
Johnny Fever, R.I.P.
Man, I love that Red Devil flying dude. Like when that
I thought that was cool.
First came down and picked up that girl, I'm like, how the fuck did they do that? It looked so goddamn good. It was awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, all that forced perspective and camera tricks was just great.
Yeah, and again, talking budgets, there's a reason why I put the movies in the order that we did, because this one only has a budget of $6,500. Of course, again, late 60s, $6,500 went a longer way than probably $8,000 in 2012 for the movie Found. But regardless, $6,500, and you get and there's so many effect shots in the movie. So that's awesome.
And I see Forrest J. Ackerman made a little cameo.
Yep, he makes a cameo, and he actually, I don't know the connection, the filmmakers to Forrest J. Ackerman, but Forrest J. Ackerman helped cast the movie too. He was responsible for bringing on some of the actors. So, and Ed Begley Jr.
Yeah,
for crying out loud, was a camera operator on the film. So, yeah.
There's also, if you were kind of eagle-eyed at the end of the movie, there's a bumper sticker that says Ronald Reagan for like governor or senator on some guy's car.
Oh, nice! I missed that. That. That's awesome.
Yeah. Also really thought that the reporter's Corvair was sweet. I was just like, man, I'd love to have that. I thought that thing was awesome.
And it ends with the end. Does that mean there's a sequel? No?
I'm still waiting for 2.
Yeah. Yeah, why isn't there a sequel? Come on.
Yeah, I'm going to be picking this one up. I really liked it. I'm going to pick this one up.
Oh, nice. So much so you want to get the physical copy. That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Criterion.
Yeah, I'll buy anything Criterion.
Yep. You can also catch it on HBO Max.
Definitely.
This was the most eventful picnic I've ever seen in my life.
Right? Just
a guy died. A guy comes back from the dead.
I'm picnicking wrong.
Yeah, you're picnicking way wrong.
I wonder if this like promoted KFC very well. You know?
Yeah, product placement.
The Colonel, baby.
That's probably where $3,000 of the $6,000 came from. All right, and speaking of budgets, now we're all the way down to the tiniest budget I could find for a film that has had international distribution. Jason, what is our last film we're going to talk about?
Our last film is from 2008, and it is simply called Colin. Colin, played by Alistair Keaton, is getting ready for a party when he is attacked by a zombie. He manages to get out of the house, but realizes he's been bitten. After transforming into a zombie, Colin ventures out in the undead-filled streets of London. Along the way, he meets his sister, Linda, who has also turned into a zombie. Follows a woman who reminds him of his girlfriend, Laura, and survives a brutal attack by a group of human survivors. Written, directed, produced by Mark Price. Edited by Mark Price. And it touts just on the front of the trailer, film was made for £45. And I did the exchange rate today. That's $60, folks.
$60 budget.
And not Skippy, Mark Price, just to clear that
That's
up.
very true.
I was
The
disappointed.
guy who played for the Cavaliers.
Still not that Mark Price either. So yeah, this was this one's tough. That's it. Next. Who's going next? Brett, you said you've seen this one before.
I have
Why'd you
seen
do
this one
that?
Before. I rented it. I'm a sucker
Crazy
for no
son
budget
of a
movies. And I like the movie for what it is. It's a $60 movie. You know what I mean? I feel like it was it's more a calling card than a movie that gets distribution. You know what I mean? I guess I like, this is a calling card. Like, look at what I can do with $60. Now give me a budget, you know? And then it just happened to get distribution. But I don't know. I like it. It's kind of blah in the middle. Like they needed to pad the runtime another 20 minutes to make it full length. But man, for what it is, it's fucking cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say that this is the movie I was the most excited to watch out of the ones that I picked, and it turned out to be the one I did not like at all. So I was very disappointed in it. Yes, I do feel like the running time is padded down because I got bored as F, and also like I just was so excited to see what you could do with $60. And I still think he needs to, get his change back, which would be $59.95.
Whoa! Ching.
I also with my biggest problem with the movie. I don't know if he's trying to compensate for the fact that he has no money, but the camera work on this movie is freaking nauseating. And it pisses me off because it just reminds me of that shit they did in the early 2000s when you had an action scene where it was all close up and tight and the camera was all over the place. So you intentionally can't make out any of the action. And that is, there was moments in this movie I couldn't even tell you what was going on and who was in the frame. It just pissed me off.
They attached a rumble pack to the camera.
So yeah, was sadly disappointed in this one.
I agree with you guys. For what they did and what their budget was, what they did was pretty incredible. I'm not gonna lie, but here's the deal: for the way that they're the story that they're telling and the way that they're telling it, I feel like this movie was about a half an hour too damn long.
Yep.
They tried to tell a story with not much dialogue, and they succeeded in some cases, but in most cases not. When they're at that party, I've been to wilder parties than that, and people weren't killing each other, but yeah, I'm trying to find nice things to say, but yeah, I pretty much agree with you guys. I mean, it just there was points where I was in my chair and I was like literally just squirming. I was just like, oh God, do I have to keep watching this? Oh fuck! It's like, I mean, I could. I could have wung it, and apparently you guys wouldn't have given a shit anyway because you guys didn't like it any more than I did. But, but yeah, for what they had to work with and what they did, it's pretty incredible. You got to give them credit for that. But just
no,
you won't do it.
I'm not going to do it.
You can do a lot. I've seen people do a lot more with nothing. It just felt like you don't have to make something. I mean,
yeah.
you could just not fucking make it and
take your friends out to lunch and call it a day.
Right, and I could save an hour and a half. I could save an hour and a half of my time. When it started, I was sort of like, okay, this looks like shit. But I sort of dig the music, and then the fucking music just drilled over and over and over the entire movie. I liked it for the first 2 minutes, and then I'm like, oh, this is all we're getting. Okay. All right.
That dreary fucking loop. I mean, I think I told you guys it was like an ice pick to my ears. Jesus, God, I forgot about it, and you just fucking reminded me. Son of a God, I'm trying to forget.
Colin is the first feature film to be told entirely from a zombie's perspective. That
Cool.
counts for okay.
Apparently, you got to be a zombie in order to watch it.
Because you know,
shooting took 18 months.
You fucking kidding me? Really? I thought it was done in an afternoon. That's
18 months, and it still only cost $6. Does he have like dirt on like everybody that starred in this movie? Is this like you have to be? Did he like? Does he have like blackmail on him?
Here's my thing. Like I'm really ragging on the movie and its poorly use of those $60. Because the thing is, it's like if you and you'll probably call me a hypocrite when we get to Insane Picks Hall of Fame inductee.
Probably.
But the thing is like if you're gonna make a movie with $60 and you want to prove yourself as like, hey, look what I can do with $60, then let's put something in it instead of put something in it instead of just trying to cover up the fact that you only have $60. Make something out of that $60. You could do a lot with nothing. My high school movies were more entertaining than this. Anyway, Jason, you had some fun factoids.
Also, spend 40 more bucks and buy a fucking light.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then you couldn't hide the shit quality of your movie, so.
Yeah, see, I was trying to find things nice to say about this movie so I wouldn't sound like a hypocrite, because I said I always try to find nice things, but you guys are kind of convincing me here. I'm gonna maybe take back.
It just feels like a big missed opportunity. That's all I'm saying, because I will be the first one to stand up on the hilltop and preach your no budget movie and love it, and fuck, that's what I do. So I have an appreciation for a movie made with nothing, even if it you can tell that it's made with nothing, but just it can't also be about nothing. Anyway, Jason, factoids.
Oh, and the last fun little funny thing is that so there's another film that deals with a story from the zombie's point of view. It's the 1998 iZombie. Mark Price, the director, said that if he had known about the existence of iZombie, he probably wouldn't have made this film. Oh, we were so close, guys.
There's also more walking in this movie than there is a Lord of the Rings.
So like I was in on this movie I gave it the best shot I could, and I thought I was doing okay, and as painful as it was, but I was in it, I was going. And then he meets that alive girl, right?
Yeah.
I think she has like a tan or something shirt, or I can't remember exactly. But so they both fall down in that hole. And then that dickhead other alive person was keeping all them zombies, or keeping all them girls in the basement, with their eyes cut out. And then like he just walks out and leaves this live girl in there. And I'm like, fuck you, movie. Like you make me care about this alive girl and this situation that she's in. And then you just leave her to, and I was so pissed off at that point. I couldn't. So I know there was the live girl came back later in the movie, but I'm like, is that the same one? I wasn't sure because I was so mad, and like it took 18 months. So hairstyles were changing always, and and I wasn't sure at that point. I was so mad. But
yeah, I was sort of like watching this, and then I realized I'm like, this isn't too bad. Then I realized I've been like scrolling through Instagram for a half hour. And I'm like, oh, this is why I don't mind it, because it's literally playing in the background. And I didn't even realize I was distracted, sort of. I mean, I've always said the biggest crime you could commit is being boring, and this is boring. And it felt like sort of like a Spec type thing where it's like, yeah, just, here's what I can do. And maybe it shouldn't be at fault for that. Like maybe it was never intended for us to watch. I don't know, but we had to. So
I just feel we could forgive it a little more if it wasn't for that fucking super shaky cam.
That
like
was
it
definitely
just could have been a little easier to take in.
I think
regardless of
you're
its
absolutely right. That was
intent,
really upset me the most.
Regardless of its intent, I don't intend watching it again.
Yeah, the concept's cool. A movie that takes place from the zombie's point of view. I like that. That's neat. His adventures, as slow as they are, but yeah, it was tough. It was tough.
An even better, extremely low budget zombie movie. I don't know if you guys ever seen Automaton Transfusion.
I have.
I think it was like 15,000 or something like that. 20,000 it was made for, but it's a lot better than Colin.
Yeah.
It's a lot more fast paced.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to apologize, guys. I know I always seem to pick a movie that is upsetting to everybody on how bad it is, but I'm going to tell you right now, this one, I'm probably more mad at this one than the rest of you. So
we should call it Colin Geist.
That's up there.
Oh man. All right, well, that's it. We are out of money. So no, that's it for the film discussion. We are going to take a quick break so you can hear all about our podcast network called the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home of so many amazing shows, including the Atomic Weight of Cheese podcast.
Love cheese.
Yes, the Atomic Weight of Cheese podcast is a podcast where cult cinema is real life and real life is frequently cult cinema. Ugh. Hosted by Mike, Chad, and Steph, three people who love movies, movie culture, pop culture, and nostalgia. Check out the Atomic Weight of Cheese podcast and all the other amazing podcasts at thepfpn.com. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
And we're back. Man, the PFPN, that sounds awesome.
Right?
Yeah. You should
Cool
definitely
place.
check it out. It's an amazing site with a ton of amazing shows. Oh, yeah, there's also the Brett and Tony podcast show. Can't forget that
Hey.
one.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
But enough of that. It's segments time here at Attack of the Killer podcast. We're going to start as we always do, hearing from you guys, the listeners. It's about time we shut up and you guys talk. Here's Jason with shout outs.
It's time for
Shout outs! Shout outs! Shout outs! Shout outs! Shout outs!
All right, we just asked, what are your favorite micro-budget horror films? And I don't know if our listeners watch a lot of micro-budget stuff. It's pretty... Well,
Snobs.
let's just...
Cultured.
I know. So there wasn't anything on Instagram and Twitter. But on our Facebook group, well, here's an example. Tony Miller, Attacker Tony. His answer is, I Am Legend, World War Z. Nailed it.
What the F?
That Tony.
This troublemaker,
Isn't he, though?
disruptor.
He sounds like a fun guy.
He does
You're
sound
breaking
like,
our hearts, TM.
He does sound like mold.
Oh, and then so Attacker Rod, Hot Rod himself says, define micro budget. Ted says under 10,000. And then Rod says, this is going to be interesting to see what you guys come up with because I can't find any. Paranormal Activity was the closest, shot at 15,000.
Well, boom, we did it.
You did it.
3 movies.
Yeah, that's right. And there could easily be a part 2.
Easily.
And then some.
Could be a part 2.
But
I had to narrow it down.
And then lastly, since almost all of the Brett and Tony with Ash and Abe guys have chimed in, it's got Abe Kirshner here. He says,
Hey.
Loosely horror, more of a forbidden word. You're welcome, Mike.
Yes, thank you for censoring that. I appreciate it.
But I recently watched Primer. Which fucking awesome movie, so good. Which ended up being too smart for me. However, what they did with that $7,000 is an amazing feat. So true, man. I mean, and you know me, I don't like time travel stuff, but that movie is amazing. Abe goes on to say, also, I know it'll make him blush, but Brett's Sans Zombies, in spite of its audio issues, was both a thrill to film / edit, but one hell of a flick.
That was an awesome weekend, Abe. And I think the budget on that was about $30, which you can tell with the audio cuts.
Oh,
30 million.
30 mil, guys. That's all they could muster. And that's on YouTube. Come on, Brett.
No, I have the only copy of it.
Come on.
Yeah.
In the archives.
Prescribed Films may need to talk to you about acquisition here.
Yep, acquisition. We have $35. You're going to make a profit.
I was trauma.
Hey.
That's right. That's all.
Oh.
Tad, you just made my day.
That's a new t-shirt we're working on. And Abe's not done. He says, and finally, Humans with a Z by Tony is a hilarious twist on the zombie verse that will always hold a special place in my heart. I may be biased, but my boy's got talent. Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to film too.
Sweet. Let's see that. It's on YouTube. That's on YouTube.
Maybe? I don't know.
Come on, Brett.
Huh. Actually, I gave you a DVD a while back, and it's on there.
Oh yeah.
You have the copy.
All right. I have
The copy?
That's right.
So you've signed. You
I
basically
have a
have signed it over now. Is what you're
That's
saying?
what I heard.
So we can do.
I already bought one off of your table at the last show.
Well, that's all the shout outs we got this week. Guys, guess what? We're not done yet. We have a voicemail.
Voicemail.
Hey, everybody. Attacker Brian. I think you thought you were going to get a break from me, but you're not. So we're talking micro-budget horror this week on Attack of the Killer podcast. I think when you talk micro-budget horror, you got to start with this little company from Iowa called Prescribed Films and this movie Demonica that I love. Where else can you get a skating rink and murder all in one movie? Then you have A Cadaver Christmas, which is an amazing micro-budget horror Christmas movie. And then some of my personal favorites, Creep and Eyes of Her Mother, Your Mother. There's eyes and there's a mother in it. That's all you need to know. Hope everybody has a good week. Take care. Bye.
Hey, Attacker Brian Godzilla himself.
Some great micro budget movies right there.
You can
Well,
watch,
he named more than just ours.
right, which you can watch on Amazon Prime.
That's right.
And it's great. I got it on Bluray.
Ooh, yeah.
All right, this is getting a little masturbatory up in here.
The whole point of this episode was to bring it around to us.
Oh, I see.
Yep, sell some DVDs.
That's right. PrescribedFilms.com.
So, like Brian, you can leave us a voicemail. You can give us a call at 415-952-6857 or 415-95-AOTKP. Leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on the show just like that. And that is shout-outs.
Attack of the Killer podcast was going to have the regular recasting with Christian Slater segment here, but recent contract disputes have temporarily halted production. Apparently, Gary Busey never received the 3 goats he was promised, and he stormed off the soundstage in search of life's meaning. So they asked me to come in and introduce the next segment, mainly because I said I'd do it for free. So, here's Insane's Picks.
Well, I hate to be a little bit of a downer. We've been having a lot of fun here tonight, but on February 27th, we have just recently lost a unique filmmaker who not only made the movies the way he wanted to make them, but also was part of the filmmaking movement known as the cinema transgression, or the no wave movement. This Insane Picks Hall of Fame, we induct Nick Zed. Nick Zed directed several super low budget feature length movies that started out that he made in the New York underground scene in the late 1970s through the 1980s. He made such feature films as Geek Maggot Bingo, They Eat Scum, and Werewolf Bitches from Outer Space. He also made several short films, all on extremely small micro budgets. Nick was a huge player in the cinema of transgression movement. Cinema of transgression was a term that Nick Zed himself came up with to describe to describe the filmmaking scene that he was a part of at the time. The term he coined the term in 1985. Basically, the movement consisted of a loose-knit group of like-minded artists using shock value and black humor in their films, mostly shot on 8mm cameras with little to nothing budgets. Some of the key players in this movement were Nick Zed, Tessa Hughes Freeland, Cassandra Stark, Beth B., Tommy Turner, Richard Kern, and Lydia Lynch, just to name a few. This style of filmmaking began in the late 1970s, and it lasted through the late 1980s. Cinema of transgression is also known as part of the no wave movement, which also includes kind of the punk experimental music scene at that time in New York. To learn more about the cinema of transgression movement and no wave, check out the documentary Blank City. It's currently on Tubi. It's freaking awesome. I've watched it like 100 times. Where a lot of artists from this era made kind of more satirical melodramas or would just capture random everyday life of gritty New York life in the early 1980s. Zed would include a lot of sci-fi, horror, and fantasy in his films. Nick's first film was They Eat Scum in 1979, which is a comedy with a dash of sci-fi, especially within the second half, where the film ends up taking place in a post-apocalyptic future after a nuclear fallout. They Eat Scum is about the rise and fall of a punk band who becomes a gang of cannibal murderers waging war against society. Now, my favorite Nick Zed movie is Geek Maggot Bingo in 1983, or it's also known as The Freak of Suckweasel Mountain. The film is an amazing display of weirdness, with everything from cardboard sets to a cool-looking two-headed monster made by Screaming Mad George. A mad doctor creates life while murderous prostitutes are on the prowl. Then there's also vampires that terrorize the town. And then along comes the rawhead kid to save the day. This movie was Nick's tribute to classic cheesy horror films from his childhood. The film even has Zachary as himself as kind of the horror host of the movie. He begins the movie and ends the movie, kind of telling the story. Besides making movies, he also acted in such low-budget films as the Super 8 movie The Manhattan Love Suicides in 1985, What About Me in 1993, Bubblegum in 1995, Jonas in the Desert in 97, and even Troma's Terror Firmer in 1999. Zed is also the author of 2 autobiographical books, Bleed and Totem of the Deprived, as well as the self-published novel Eutropia to Ecstasy. In the 1980s, Zed published 10 issues of the Underground Film Bulletin, a zine intended to promote the cinema transgression, and issue number 4 contained the manifesto for the cinema of transgression. In the early 1990s, Zed toured with Lisa Crystal Carver's band Suck Dog Circus and showed his films at the various venues. He also performed with experimental noise music band Zyklon Beatles, and Zed released the Consume and Die 7-inch single on Rubik Records in the year 2000. Zed exhibited oil paintings in 2010 at the ADA galleries, Zed presented a major retrospective of his films, videos, and paintings at the Microscope Gallery when it was in Bushwick, Brooklyn. After that, he eventually moved to Mexico City in the March of 2011. In 2012, he attended a retrospective of his films at the 8th Berlin International Directors Lounge and exhibited work at the Kunstreich Institute for Temporary Art in the same city. In 2013, at a screening at the New Museum in New York, Zed was presented with the Acker Award for Lifetime Achievement, a tribute given to members of the avant-garde arts community who made outstanding contributions in their discipline in defiance of convention or else served their fellow writers and artists in outstanding ways. Nick Zed was a pioneer in his own style of filmmaking that ended up becoming a revolution in the New York art scene. He also was and so we induct Nick Zed in this episode of Insane Picks Hall of Fame. And I would like to take a moment to quote the great thespian Bruce Willis, "Zed is dead, baby. Zed's dead."
I feel weird putting the applause there after we normally do.
All right, fine. So that is it for this episode.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's over. Thanks to Brett for being on, man. Thanks for joining us again.
Brett.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was a blast. Also, anybody out there? I'll be at the Cracktastic Plasticon in Ottumwa, April 30th. So come grab a book.
Yes, definitely grab a book. His books are awesome.
Oh,
and thanks again for being on, man. It's always a good time having you with us. So.
Cool.
All right. So that is it for this episode. I want to thank you all for listening, and special thanks to the Attackers for helping support the show and keeping the lights on, keeping our budget. Well, we're getting there. So thanks for listening. We'll talk to you on the next episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Oh no,
Bye-bye.
could this be the end of? Wow.